That night I heard that my brother had died. My brother lives near the village where I live. I also rushed to help my brother's funeral. As usual, every time someone dies, the whole family gathers at the funeral home. I also have to go home at night. I can't stay overnight because I have to go to college tomorrow. Until one night, when it was almost 12 o'clock at night, I was busy chatting with my brothers and sisters who gathered at the funeral home. I used to want to go home in the afternoon, but because it was not good with relatives and family to ask permission to go home because they were busy chatting, until the atmosphere of my brother was already saturated with his chatter. I also asked for permission to go home. Usually, if I go home I usually pass the highway by walking about 1 hour, but if I pass the train, I can be up to 20 minutes faster. Because I was tired and wanted to go home quickly, I finally decided to go through the rails. Actually, I'm used to passing through the railroad, although only sometimes in the afternoon or during the day, because there are still many people who are active, or people who are looking for grass to feed their livestock. And a terrible incident happened. The night was so quiet, unlike usual, because it was probably late at night, plus it was cold that night. I felt a little scared. Only the sound of crickets accompanied my steps on foot, until finally on the way home, I saw someone who was sitting squatting with loose hair and head down. I don't watch that guy very much. I just thought maybe it was crazy. After I passed her with a little curiosity, I looked in her direction. After I looked, he was still sitting there. Only after I walked about 5 meters, I tried to look again. It turned out that the person raised his face, slightly puffed out his chest. What I saw was that the man got up from his seat, pulled out a sharp weapon, and he started running after me, and finally with all my might I ran away from the person. With a hard step, I arrived at the place where the road to my home village, and a few minutes later I saw the street lights were clearly visible. It was a sign that I was close to the road to my house. When I looked back I saw a silhouette of the shadow of the man still trying to chase me. After a few seconds of sighing, I ran back trying to keep as far away from the bad guy as possible. When I got home, I immediately went in and locked all the doors and also the window. I turned off all the lights. I peeked out from the crack of the glass curtain of my room on the second floor. I felt a little relieved, because the bad guy didn't follow all the way to my house. There is a lesson we can take from this story, which is not to dare to walk alone on a deserted street. Because we don't know what lies behind the darkness of the road. July 21st, 2015, at 4 p.m. I got home from school on the school bus. Arriving at the bus stop, I got off the bus and continued my way home on foot. Arriving home, it turned out that the condition of the house at that time was empty. My parents had not returned from work, and my older brother had not returned from college. I called my mom to ask where she put the keys. My mother then told me that she kept the keys to the house in a flower pot next to the house. After I took the key I went into the house and changed clothes in my room. After changing my clothes, I went to bed to rest for a while, but there was something strange. I heard like a doorknob being forced to open. I listened carefully again and the sound came from the back door of the house. At first I thought it was my brother who had just returned from college. But I just realized that my brother used to come home at 6 or 7 at night. Meanwhile, it was only 5:30 p.m. I went up to the second floor to see who was there, and when I looked from the second floor window, it turned out that behind the house there was a man dressed in black and wearing a hat, was trying to open the back door of my house. I called my mom again, but she didn't pick up the phone, because in a panic I tried to call the police. Luckily, my phone was answered by the police. I asked the police to send help to my house. After I finished calling the police, I looked back at the stranger, this time trying to open the door with the tool he had brought. I didn't know what the device was. Because of panic and fear I hid in my parents' room on the second floor, and hoped that the police would come soon. And that's right, the police finally arrived. When I came out I saw from the window that the stranger was gone. I opened the door, and there were 2 policemen who came to my house. They then asked what happened. I then told him all the events. After listening to the story from me, they then checked around the house, and it turned out to be true. The back door of the house did look forced to be opened, even the keyhole was damaged. The police kept me at home until my two parents came home. My parents were shocked and they saw that there were two policemen in the house. The police and I told my parents about this. And when it was all over, the two police officers were gone.